Hello everyone! So a few weeks ago, I put up a video where I was trying manga for the very first time. So I had never read any manga ever, and then I tried, I think, 6 different first volumes, chose 4 that I wanted to continue with, and I am reading through some of those series and continuing to enjoy my experience. But I had said in that video that I wasn't going to do any more of these videos where I try new manga series, and I lied, obviously, because I said I was going to focus on those 4 series and finish them before continuing. But I then, got inspired and all excited, and I went on YouTube and was looking for manga recommendations, and you guys recommended some things in that video for me to continue, so I had to get those from the library to try, and I just went down a whole rabbit hole and started watching a ton of videos about manga recommendations. Yeah, so I ended up with a ton of things I wanted to try. So I think I ended up with 18 different manga series I want to give the first volume a try. So I'm actually going to split this into 2 videos. So I'm going to, for the first half of May, try 9 of them, and then the second half of May, try the other 9, and let you know what I think. I'm going to do it just like I did the other one, where I read 1 volume and kind of give my thoughts on it and whether I want to continue to pick up the next volume. Yeah, it's a lot, and I probably won't obviously continue all of these series. Hopefully there'll be ones like last time where there'll be about half that I want to continue. And if I do end up wanting to continue a ton of these, then I'll probably have to prioritize which ones I get out first, because yeah, that's going to become overwhelming if I start all of these. But it just was so exciting. It's opening a whole new world to me. And we haven't even started with me trying anime yet. So I'm just trying manga now, but I'm sure soon this will lead to me trying some of these anime. Yeah, so I know that this is a very popular medium that people have been enjoying for a long time. And yeah, it's been recommended to me for a long time, and I'm just excited to now be joining in and trying these things. So like I said, I have 9 series here that I have the first volume for. So let's start off. Let me just tell you which ones they are. I'm not going to give descriptions here because some of these I have no idea really what they're about, because I watch so many recommendation videos, and most of them I had not heard of, except for the very first one. I had not heard of any of these really until I started going down this rabbit hole of videos. So I can't tell you descriptions now. I'm just going to list what they are so you know what to look forward to. So the first one is one I have heard a lot of people watch on or read on BookTube and enjoy, and that is Orange. And this one is a compilation, so I won't be reading this entire thick first volume. It's there's 2 omnibuses, so I will probably read a third of this. I think it's split up into where to end for the original first volume. Yeah, so it'll tell you where it is. So I think it's reading a third of this is the thing I'm going to try from there. And then the only other one that I had heard of previously was Hat Atelier. Is that how you say it? I should look that up, because I didn't look up recommendations on this one because I had already seen this on Keisha's channel. Book Like You is her channel, and I had seen her reading this because she likes witch stories. And I also had somebody recommend this in that video where I was trying manga for the first time, so that was double made me want to pick it up. So I actually have not looked up recommendation videos and don't know how to say the title. I'll check it before I come back and tell you I've read it. And so then the next one is one that was recommended to me on my past video, and that was Noragami Stray God. And then the rest of these are just ones that, like I said, I found as I was searching for recommendations. I have Prince Freya, which this one I'm a little nervous about starting, because from what I can tell, it's only got a few volumes in English, and so it's ongoing. So, I kind of prefer the ones that are finished, so I know I can get a hold of them, because there's nothing worse than having that cliffhanger and waiting for the next thing, but we'll see. And then I have Frieren, and then Dr. Stone. And the next one I'm really excited about because I saw it on a lot of recommendation videos from people that read similar to me, and that's Yona of the Dawn. This one is a really long one, but if it's something I really enjoy, then it might be fun to have a long one to do. And then I have Asadora, which you can't really read that with all the library stickers. So Asadora. And this one I'm intrigued by because when I was watching the recommendations, nobody could give a synopsis of this, and it seemed like maybe it was a spoiler to know much about it, so that makes me interested, and that's why I picked it up, because I really don't know I couldn't tell at all what it was about. And the last one is Vinland Saga. And this is another one where I think it's kind of like a compilation of a couple volumes. So I'll probably only read half of this, which will probably equivalent like one volume, because it's just a little long to try in this video. So those are the 9 manga first volumes that I will read, and I'll let you know what I think of each of them. Okay, so I ended up finishing 2 of the first volumes before I was able to chat with you all. So the first one I read was Frieren Beyond Journey's End, and this one is interesting because the premise of this is that all of these people have come back from like the end of the quest, the end of the journey. So they have defeated the Demon King and they're returning as heroes, and it's kind of like afterwards, what happens afterwards? And we're mostly following this elf, Frieren, and some of her, you know, she lives for a really long time as an elf, but 2 of her companions are humans, and it's kind of like her realizing that, you know, she's gonna live way past their death, having to, you know, the grief of death of her friends, and just kind of interacting with the human race and all that. And I just think it's kind of interesting, this whole concept of what happens after you're the hero and you've already defeated the big bad. And this one is very contemplative, very quiet. Like, stuff is happening, there's magic going on and they're traveling and things are going on, but it is definitely very calm. And so it took me a while to read it, not because I wasn't liking it, like I was really enjoying the concept of it and just like actually just really enjoying the artwork. And I'm trying to think if I could show, yeah, like just I did really like the art and the topics that they were discussing. It's just so slow moving and philosophical that I would just like read it for a little bit and then put it down, like read a chapter and then put it down and then come back and read the next chapter. I think this one had like 6 chapters in it, 7 chapters. So it took me almost a week to read this because I would only read it 1 chapter at a time. So I would say I am going to continue this one, but it's one that I would not necessarily prioritize because I think it's just going to be kind of a slow moving one. I just want something calm and kind of almost like a comfort read type of thing that I would pick this up. So yes, I do think I would continue this one, just not top priority. Did enjoy it. And then I picked up Prince Freya, and this one I've read in 1 sitting, so it was definitely different in terms of like speed, but this one was confusing a bit. So basically the concept of this is that we are following a girl named Freya, and she's got these 2 boys that they're not her brothers, but when I think their family had died, and so her mom had taken them in when they were a little younger, and so they've kind of lived almost like brothers, and they have come back from like war and hanging out with them. And then the prince, is all of this in the back? Let me just make sure. Yeah, so she looks just like the prince of their country, and the prince is dying, and so she wants to help save these like, you know, kind of adoptive brothers of hers, and so she decides to disguise herself as the prince, to be the prince, because she looks just like him. And yeah, so that's basically the concept of her just kind of taking the place of the prince and her having to figure out what to do about that, suddenly being a prince instead of a normal girl. And, you know, we've got her like adoptive brothers there. Let me see if I can find some art at the beginning. A lot of this does have some violence in it, so I don't want to get anything like that. So let me see if I can find something that would kind of like show the art. Yeah, so this is kind of the art style. There's not a lot of words on the page. Like, I know that page had hardly any, and even the ones with more words doesn't have a lot, so that's why I think it was so fast. Like, there's just not a lot of dialogue, so it's very quick moving. But that also led to me getting confused some points of like what was happening. There were some like major things that happened that I'm like, oh, did I miss that? And I had to go back and like reread a couple pages and try to figure out what actually happened. So I was kind of confused during several times in this. And I also found some of the romance is icky. Like, there's not like a full-on romance in this one yet. Like, I'm sure there will be over the series, but there's like love interests, and several of them are kind of creepy the way they interact with her. I didn't really find it romantic, and so I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like this one. It is probably one where I will try the second one, because since this is the first volume, maybe it just needs a little time to get going. So I might try one more, and then if I don't like the second one, then I won't continue in this, but like the concept intrigues me of her like taking the place of the prince. So I think I'll try the second one, but I'm not like super excited about this one. This would be more like middle of the road for me, just because it was pretty confusing and the romances I'm not on board with at this point. So yep, that's where I'm starting with. Slow and contemplative, definitely want to continue, and kind of like fast pace, lots of romance focus and confusing. So that's where we're at the beginning. Okay, so I have finished 2 more first volumes. So let's talk about the next one I read, which was Hat Atelier. And this one, okay, so let me just show you first of all a little bit of the art. Yeah, it's hard. Has really pretty art. Like here at the beginning, we have like almost like a little deer type creature at the water. So some pretty nature, and then kind of you could see the people artwork. And this is about a girl named Coco who like is really interested in magic. She's kind of obsessed with it, but in this world, witches are like, it's passed down through the generations, so it's not like you can just decide to be a witch. And so, you know, she said that she can never be a witch because she isn't born to a witch family, but she's obsessed with magic. But then something happens and she gets brought into the world of magic, and that's about all I could say, you know, like without getting into spoileries. And okay, so I thought the art was really beautiful in this, and that was interesting, but I just wasn't really pulled into the story or the characters in this one. I don't know. Like, so I'm kind of trying to figure out if I want to continue, because for most of this, like I think this is 5 chapters long. And for the first like 3 chapters, I was like, okay, this is fine, nothing wrong with it, but just not for me. I don't think I'm going to continue, because I felt like our main character was really inconsistent. Like I didn't really understand Coco, because one moment she'd be like happy and cheerful and like, you know, just so excited about magic and all this stuff. And then the next moment she would just be like kind of wild, like just do things, like, I don't know what I'm saying, like overly assertive and aggressive almost. And I'm like, I don't really understand. Her character didn't make sense to me. It didn't like flow well. So yeah, I wasn't really really invested in her and as a character or in the story, other than the art style. But then like the last 2 chapters, some more stuff happened, and there was like a big, you know, kind of cliffhanger ending. And so now I'm like, I want to know what happens because of the big cliffhanger ending, but I wasn't really drawn into this one. So I'm like, will it just be like where I pick up the next one and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what happens next, and then be kind of not interested for most of it like this one. So it's not going to be a priority for me to continue this one, but I might eventually pick up the second one just to see what happens next. And then if that one draws me in more, because it might just be that we're setting up the world and the characters, so maybe I'll get more invested in Coco in the world later. But for now, I wouldn't say this is a top priority, but I was like intrigued by the ending. So maybe I just had to get past the initial setup and then I will enjoy it. But yeah, the artwork is pretty. And then the next one was Asadora. And I know like the sticker covers up like the whole title of it. And this one, it's gonna be hard to find artwork because I don't really want to show you the first page, because I feel like it's almost a little spoilery. I know it's the first page, but it really jumps right into some action. So let me just pick another page to show you the artwork. So this is just a couple pages in. You could see our main character, Asadora, or her name is Asa, and then kind of, you know, some other things going on. There at the beginning of this, it is, okay, so the setup for this is the prologue is taking place in 2020, which, you know, I always feel bad for authors who write things before 2020 and they're using that as like the setting, the futuristic setting. But, you know, they obviously didn't know what was going to happen in 2020. So the prologue is taking place in 2020. Sorry, I had to stop recording for a second and interrupt myself because my daughter like went upstairs with no pants on, and so didn't want to put that on the internet. But anyways, what I was saying was the prologue's taking place in 2020 Tokyo, talking about the Olympics. Obviously, the author writing this in 2018 did not know that the Olympics would not be occurring in 2020, and that he didn't know that we were in the middle of a pandemic and all that. So obviously this is alternate 2020, and then that's just the prologue, and then the main story goes back to 1959. So I'm assuming at some point we're going to lead back up to that 2020 time period. But yeah, the majority of this is taking place in 1959. Asa is a child and there's a typhoon, and this was a real typhoon that happened in 1959. A typhoon is coming to her area of Japan, and so she needs to seek shelter and all that. And so that's kind of like what we're following for most of this. We're following Asa as she like is sheltering during the typhoon, and then like what happens, you know, the aftermath of that. And yeah, I don't really want to give a lot away. It's a historical, but there's some little fantastical elements that I think are interesting. So I really did enjoy this. It's very simplistic in terms of, I felt like the drawing was pretty simplistic and the story was simple, but like in a way that drew me in. I really liked Asa as a character. She like never gives up and is like really determined to, you know, get things done and you know, to help people in the typhoon. And then the other character we're introduced to, I really enjoyed him, and then like some other side characters that show up. So I really liked the characterization, and I found this interesting because, like I said, not a lot happens. It's pretty simple story, but with those little slight fantastical elements that just peek up a couple times in this, it makes me interested to see what's going to happen next, because obviously that like it's taking place during a real thing that happened in 1959, but they're adding a fantastical element. So I want to find out where they're going, and then obviously what leads it to the like more current timeline. So I am interested to continue on this way. All right, 2 more. I'm moving along a lot faster now. Like I finished these both in like the same night. So I'm very different opinions about these 2. So first I read Dr. Stone, and this one is about, it's sci-fi, so it is like something has happened and everybody on Earth has turned to stone. And then a long time has passed and these 2 guys break out of the stone and they have to restart civilization. And the one is like a science person, like knows a lot about science, so he's determined to be able to restart civilization and help break other people out of the stone through science. And this, I just really did not like at all. Like I almost just stopped reading it after like the first chapter. The second chapter, I was like, oh, I just am not enjoying this. I did make it through. I just kind of read it by the end. There's nothing wrong with it. Like I could see why other people would find it entertaining, but it just like bugged me. Like the 2 main characters, it's definitely very much like the whole time it's over the top. So like the one guy just basically seems like he's shouting constantly, like all of his words. I'm just trying to like find a part I can show you. Well, here's some of the art. So this is the science guy and then his friend. Those are the 2 that are going to save the world. But this guy, every single thing he says is like shouting, and it just like bothered. It wasn't even like sometimes like when, you know, the disaster happens, it's like the entire time he's shouting constantly, it seems like. And it just was over the top for me, not my style. So I won't be continuing that one, but I get that other people would find it entertaining. And then I picked up Yona of the Dawn, and this one, you know, I feel like they give a lot away in the description, and I didn't read the description. I just heard a lot of people recommend this, so I'm not going to give that much away. I'll just say Yona is a princess. She's been doted on by her father, so she's lived a pretty blessed life, and then something tragic happens and it changes her lot in life quite a bit, and she has to figure out what to do next. And I really enjoyed this one. I liked not knowing a lot about it going in. Like I didn't really know anything other than I just seen a ton of people. This is a long running series, and a lot of people have liked it. Like it has a lot of volumes. I think it's on like 30 or something now. And a lot of people really enjoy it, like the romance and the politics and all that. And so I just didn't really know what I was in for. And I was like totally surprised by this first volume. You know, when that tragic event happens, it took me by surprise, like all the details about it. Like I knew there was going to be like something that happened, just, you know, because something has to happen in the first book. But yeah, the event that happens took me by surprise. I really enjoyed this one, and I will continue. Since it is such a long series, I don't know if I want to jump right into this one right away. I might finish some of the shorter ones first, but I did enjoy this one and thought it was an interesting start to a series. And that's it for now, I'll come back when I finish. I only have 3 more left, so I don't know if I'll wait till all 3 or maybe I'll just update you another 2 and do the last one and then final thoughts. I have finished 2 more, and so the first one that I read, and actually I didn't finish this one because it's an omnibus. I only ended up reading the first 2 chapters, and there's a reason I only read the first 2. So this is Vinland Saga, and this omnibus I think is like the first 2 volumes maybe, and this is like a Viking historical type of story, and we're following this boy. I think his name is Thorfinn, is that right? And he's traveling with some Vikings, and yeah, that's basically it. And this one starts off right away with battle scenes, and it was just like was not for me. Like the very first whole, like, what is it, chapter or whatever, is like people dying. It's like war, there's graphic, you know, stabbing and all kinds of things that are happening, and it just wasn't my style. So I did end up reading the second chapter just because I was like, okay, I know I don't like war, but I know the whole thing isn't the war, so I'll read the second chapter just to see. And that one, you know, they weren't fighting necessarily in that one. It was a little more character work, but I still just wasn't really that interested. I don't know. I know that a lot of people love this. I might pick it back up. I'm trying to show you some art that isn't like people dying, so, and like dead bodies. So here we go. So this is an example of some of the artwork, and yeah, I just don't know that this is my style, but I might try it again next year. I plan on continuing kind of like my study of history. We did ancient history this year, and I'm going to be doing medieval history and the Middle Ages next year, and that'll include studying Vikings and Norse mythology. So I might pick this one up at that time to check it out, but at this point I just don't think that it's my style, and at least it's something I don't want to worry about picking up right now because I just don't know how into it I'll ever get. But maybe as I learn more about Vikings and history, I might want to pick it up then. So not something I'm going to read anytime soon, and I'm not going to finish the omnibus, or even like the first volume is probably half of this, and I'm not going to finish even half. I'm fine with just 2 chapters, knowing it's not for me right now. And then I picked up Noragami Stray God, and this one is about Yato, I think is his name. He is a homeless god, so he doesn't have a shrine or people worshiping him, and so he's trying to like build up money so that he can build himself a temple where he can be worshipped. So he's got a bit of an ego problem, and so what he's doing is he's like helping people with little tasks in order to like earn money so that he can build himself a temple. And he just does simple tasks, like the first one is like helping with bullies at school. And yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be continuing this one either. There was nothing wrong with it. It was fine. It just wasn't really like my style. Let me see if I can get some of the artwork. So that's a guy who's a god, and they're helping a girl in the bathroom because she's crying because she's being bullied at school. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with this one. It would just seem like it's gonna be one of those that is very like serialized, you know, like, so like each chapter he's like helping a person, and it's gonna keep like being repetitive like that, which there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people watch like serialized television, you know, like where every episode a different thing is happening, and you're just like the characters are growing and evolving over time, but it's very much a repetitive formula. I'm just not in the mood for that right now, and this didn't really pull me in with the characters or anything. I liked the kind of this girl character. I can't remember her name, but I liked her character, and so I am interested in her storyline, but I don't really care so much about the main character. So this isn't one I'm going to continue. It was fine. It just isn't for me. So both of these turned out not to be for me, but there's been plenty of them in this video that I do want to continue with, so I'm okay with the fact that these are not for me. Okay, I've finished my first volume, so I'll tell you my thoughts on that, and then tell you which ones I'm continuing, which ones I'm stopping, all of that. My kids are playing outside with water right out here, and I have the window open so I can like see them and hear them. So you might hear some playing and stuff like that, but I figured it'd be quieter in here than sitting right next to them. So I just finished the first volume of Orange. So this is an omnibus, so it has 3 volumes in it. So I read the first volume, and this is really interesting. So I have heard other people talk about this, so I kind of knew that it was like a high school, you know, group of teens, you know, and their relationships and all that, but that it also had a little speculative element. And that I think is what like really pulled me through was like a little speculative thing. I'll show you some art. I'm trying not to give spoilers in the artwork, but yeah, so there's some of the character artwork. And yeah, I haven't really lately been enjoying a lot of things that revolve around just like contemporary teen stories. So whether that's in a manga or just in a young adult contemporary book, that hasn't been something I've been drawn to. But I think the speculative element of this one is what has like me intrigued. Like I want to know kind of where that goes. But I also am really enjoying the friend group in this as well. I think that their personalities have been interesting, and I've liked what I've read so far. Like I said, it hasn't been like that much into it, and so I don't really know where it is completely going with all of the little speculative things, but I'm enjoying it so far. Sorry, my husband decided to start mowing. He doesn't know that I'm recording in here because I'm like in charge of the kids right now, and he was doing outside stuff, but I didn't know he was gonna mow. So I've closed up the window and the door. I can still see my kids, but trying to like block off some of the mowing sound. So I kind of separate things into different categories. Things I'm not gonna continue, things I'm gonna continue, but probably take my time with, so I won't like prioritize them now. I might just eventually get to them. And then stuff that I am actually really excited to continue soon. So first, the two that I'm definitely not continuing are Dr. Stone and Noragami. Yeah, this one was just too over the top, not my kind of humor or style. And this one, I felt like it was just very repetitive in its style, and I wasn't that interested in it. And then Vinland Saga is one that I'm also not interested in at the moment, but I may pick this up when I start talking about or start learning about more of the history of the Vikings and Norse mythology and all that. So this I might come back to, but I don't have any plans to do it now. And then the ones that I'm kind of like, will take my time with, Hat Atelier. I did like the art in this. I think I was interested at the end, but I wasn't completely drawn in by this, so I'll probably just pick it up later on when I kind of feel like it. Maybe I'll wait till I'm in the witchy mood. And then Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. I did really like this, and the characters, it's just very slow moving, so it's not one I'm feeling the need to like jump at finishing right now. It'll be one that I probably will take my time and like, you know, just whenever I want something calm, I'll pick that up. And then Prince Freya. This one, I don't know. This is one where I want to give it one more volume before I decide if I even want to read this or not. So I actually did get the second volume from the library, so I'm going to read the second volume like soon and decide if I'm actually going to continue. This might be one I just don't continue at all, or maybe the second one will intrigue me more, because I feel like this was mostly set up and it was a bit confusing in the setup, so I just wanted to see what the next one would be like before I make any decisions about that. And then there's three that I'm definitely going to continue. First is Orange, because I did find this to be interesting, and I want to see where the whole speculative part of this goes, and because this is only 2 omnibuses, like there's just this one which I'm a third of the way through, and then one more to pick up that I think is about the same size, so it's not a huge time commitment, and I'm interested so far in the characters and what's going to happen. And then Asadora, this one just had me really intrigued. I really liked the art and the simplisticness of the story, but yet the characters really drew me in on this one, and I just want to see what's going to happen, because this is another one that's like historical fiction but with a speculative thing, so kind of like this is contemporary with a speculative. I want to see where the speculative part of that goes, and I just really enjoyed it. And then the last one, Yona of the Dawn, I was just really, very surprised by this. Even though I hear a lot of people talking about it, I was still taken by surprise with things that happened in this one, and I am interested to see where it goes. So those are my thoughts, the ones I'm going to continue with, the ones that I am done with. And I'm just really enjoying this like experiment of trying out different things. I'm gonna be doing one more video probably next month where I'll try some more. And then after that, I'm just gonna pick the ones that I wanted to continue with and take my time with them. So I won't be doing like this. I'll have one more of these try videos, and then I'm just gonna kind of like pick my way through these series, and I probably won't like be binging my way through an entire series all at once. I like kind of picking one up in between reading other books. Like if I'm reading like a big, you know, fantasy novel, or even like a contemporary that's taking me several days, it's kind of nice to just sit down and be like, I'm just gonna pick this up, finish it in one sitting, and it kind of breaks things up. I like the artwork. So I'm really enjoying this experience, and that's it for this time. I'll see you next time. Bye.